You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Looney Lewis, and today I'm elated, I'm excited, and I have the honor of introducing one magnificent individual into the show, Chris Burns. He dedicates his life to coaching men to activate their purpose, power, and prosperity. He has been coaching men, entrepreneurs, and leaders, thought leaders, professionals for over a decade, and clients on one-on-one, group coaching, you name it, home study courses, and host live events, retreat. I mean, the man does it all. Masterminds. Christopher's company coaches and teaches men through the Mastered Men curriculum, where men create their purpose manifesto, start to master the skills of channeling power, download and receiving the prosperity codes. All these things we're going to learn about today. I cannot tell you anymore because I'm just going to bring him on and let him do it. So no further ado, Chris, welcome to the show.
Lunid, it is an honor to be here. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Let's get right into it. Tell us about your Assemblance first.
Yes. So for the podcast listeners, I have a very colorful seed of life, let's say mural behind me. And so that was really something in the last year of really reinventing myself and ending a 5-year partnership that I was in. That was a great run. Got the opportunity to interview like 800 guests on the show that I was telling you about and just build my network a lot. I love podcasting. I love connecting with people. But after leaving that, I said, who am I? What's important for me at this phase of my life? And I said, I'm committed to being a holistic being, a holistic, successful being. And that's not just financially, it's not just in relationships, but it's spiritually, it's health-wise, it's really activating the greatest potential and mastering the man within. So I got this seed of life, which is a sacred geometry shape. And you guys can see the video if you want to see what it looks like. And the other thing is this headband, and it's a crown. I call it the King's Crown. And it has copper, silver, and a crystal quartz over my third eye. So I might look like I'm from Lord of the Rings or something like that, wearing some awesome medieval stuff. And I just really love being unapologetic about who I am. And I know that these crystals, these different things that we have around us have energy, right? Symbols and objects and crystals especially have energy. And so if you have plants in your room, it's going to give off energy of like peace and relaxation and ease and tranquility. And for me, if I have crystals on me or around me, depending on the crystal, but quartz is an amplifier. So this amplifies my thinking, my brain waves, my third eye chakra. If you believe in the chakra system, I do. And so ultimately just creating more alignment and harmony so I can show up as the mastered man that I am being and becoming and love my life even more than need.
Oh my goodness. That's fantastic because we are a bundle of energy. I believe in chakras as well, in the stones, and how your environment plays a key role in not just your well-being, but your mood, your state, like what comes off. Like you can get rid of anxiety and stress by having certain things around you that triggers it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's amazing. And I totally believe that. But thank you for sharing about your Assemblance, your costume. It looks amazing. And I thought, man, I have to bring it up because I want to hear the story, the backstory behind it. Yeah. And it's right on with what you do with Manifesto, right? Mm-hmm. And what we're going to discover some more about today. But tell us about your journey here so far. You mentioned the 5-year partnership that you were in, but who is Chris?
Man, who is Christopher Burns today? He is let's say a force and or a power of empowerment, of love, of uplifting the people around me, and also lots of play, lots of fun, lots of great energy, because I believe if you're going through life and you're not enjoying it, then, what's the point? I believe from all my years of playing video games, which I can dive into, all those years I said, wow, life is supposed to be fun. I may have been misdirecting my focus and my attention, which having a solid morning routine can help you win the day so that you win the week, win the month, win the year, and ultimately win the lifetime, right? So ultimately I said, wow, that focus wasn't directed properly. How can I take that passion and that joy and that aliveness that came to me when I was playing video games and bring that to my life? So that's what I do. That's what I dedicate myself to, and really activating the power within each of us. Because I believe we all have everything that we need. We have the resourcefulness, we have the resources, we have the everything that we need to achieve whatever our desires are. It's more about remembering that we have that all. It's more about remembering who we truly are versus what we've been programmed to believe, Lunid. So there's a lot that goes into my journey. I can dive into more about that, but I would say that's really who I am and what I'm focusing on today.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So let's get right into how can one tap into that purpose? How can one begin that journey?
Yeah. Well, I believe depending on where people are at, there's I'd say two big stages. One is I have no idea what my purpose is. And so guess what your purpose is? It's to discover your purpose. That is the journey. That is the gift. And because someone else is living in their purpose and in their gifts, you see them on TV, you see them writing books, you see Lunid hosting her podcast and helping people with these habit transformation techniques, right? Like you might be like, wow, that seems so special and so unique. How could I ever be there? And your job is not to be Christopher Burns. Your job is not to be Lunid Lewis. Your job is to be you. So whoever you are, that's what I would get curious about. Curiosity for me is one of the greatest gifts that we are given as human being, but oftentimes it is quote unquote beaten out of us, right? It is submitted out of us. It is depressed into us, so deep into us so that we don't access it anymore, just like emotions and feelings and traumas and things like that, which I know you've had a journey of really breaking through that and healing through that and bringing these techniques to the world so that people can claim their power again. So purpose number one, if you don't know what your purpose is discover your purpose. And that's by being curious. It's about studying yourself. What are your values? What do you stand for? What are your gifts? What are your strengths? And also, who are you not? Right? It's just important to know who are you as who are you not? What don't I like? What are the values that I don't stand for? What are the things that I don't believe in? Right? And that's important, because if you try to be all things to all people, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything, right?
That's
and
right.
So that's number one. Number two, though, Lunid, is ultimately, I believe it's a process of refinement and testing hypotheses and going on the journey, trying things out. Because if you don't go taste these different ideas that you have about who you are, if you say, well, I'm an adrenaline junkie, right? But then you don't go out and go race cars or go skydiving or, stand up on a open mic night and have that adrenaline rush of putting yourself in these wild situations, then are you really living in that identity of who you say that you are? So ultimately, if you're not testing that, then how would you know if that's really you? And so I think declaring, this is who I am. I value loyalty. I value growth. I value love. I value joy. Okay. Are you being that? Are you embodying that? Are you living that in your everyday life? Because if not, then either there's something incongruent about you saying that, or you get to do some inner work so that you can really step into that, step into the resistance, step into the fear so that you can own who you truly are.
Yeah, that is well put. I love the explorative, being curious, going out to search for it. And I think a lot of it is already innate. We embody it. We have it. We don't spend enough time, quiet time with ourselves for it to hear it. Right? We're human doing, and we're not human being. We're not just being still and be quiet and actually listen to what is being shared. Because once you do tap into your purpose, it won't shout at you. It's a small, quiet, still voice, and once you got to be intentional about hearing it and putting down the phone, staying away from social media, all that good stuff, because you got to spend time. You got to spend time in quietness to find your purpose. Now, I know about purpose. You know about purpose, Chris. We found our purpose and we're living ecstatically through that. Tony Robbins found his purpose, Oprah Winfrey, all these people who are super successful have found their purpose. So I ask you, why? Why does it matter? Why do I need to find my purpose?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best questions that someone could ask themselves is why even put in the effort to grow? Why even put in the effort to be a better version of myself? I was reading a book by Jay Shetty, and I think it's like Think Like a Monk. And one of the things that he said in there was, the purpose of a Buddhist from the Buddhist philosophy is to serve, right? The only reason why we're here on this earth is to serve. And that may not be the only quote unquote reason, but it's, let's say, the dominant reason, one of the most important reasons. And Lunid, I was on a track when I was younger of being so selfish, so arrogant, so conceited, so shy and afraid of the world, but pretending like I had this big bravado and ego and, Mr. Tough Guy. And it wound me in a rock bottom in my life. And I was actually in jail for a couple of days because of some stupid mistakes that I had made. And thankfully charges were dropped, case was dismissed. It wasn't ever anything on my record, but that was my wake up call that I was this close to having the rest of my life be ruined, quote unquote, or having to deal with the consequences of those actions. And so I source that disempowerment, that discord, that dissatisfaction, the anger, the rage, the pent up emotions that I was experiencing at the time, which caused me to have immature actions, which caused me to rebel and do things that were not in my highest good. And I wasn't listening to that small voice. So I was super focused on myself. I was super focused on the instant gratification, the instant moment of like, man, I'll do whatever I want. Doesn't matter what the consequences are. And so the reason why for me personally, and everyone gets to find their own reason, for me personally, I see the pain that I caused myself and the people around me when I was not focused on my purpose. I see the pain that I caused my community, my loved ones, when I stopped caring about giving my gifts to the world and I made it all about me. So when I focus on service, when I focus on giving my gifts, when I focus on being a better version of myself every day, when I focus on dialing in my morning routine, so I set up my day for the best day ever, right? The best morning routine ever, so I can have the best day ever. Then I am prospering and I'm happy and I'm thriving. I'm more generous. I'll do nice things. I'll be kind. I will open doors for people, right? I'll slow down and really soak in the magic and the miracles of our life that we've been blessed with. So for me, it's ultimately like, if I'm going to have this life experience, right? Quote unquote, nobody makes it out alive. Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. So it's like, okay. So if I'm
hasn't been confirmed.
Exactly. Who knows? But at the end of my life, I don't want to have regrets. I think that's one of the biggest things that has stuck with me after interviewing so many people is like, I'm committed that I die totally at peace, totally knowing I gave every freaking ounce of me to this life. And I left it all on the field. I left nothing on the table. I gave it my all. And after hearing so many people's painful stories of them not doing that, or them going decades of their life without truly doing that, and what the impact was on their health, creating dis-ease in their body, on their relationships, marriages breaking up because people aren't living in their truth, because of their businesses that fell apart, that, crumbled because they weren't truly tapped into who they are. I don't want that pain. I hate pain, right? I don't want that. I choose joy. I choose ease. I choose thriving. I choose to live in my purpose and to be growing every day. So that is why for me, Lunid, and for everyone who's tuning in, you get to discover your own reasons.
Yeah, finding that purpose does make life a lot richer. It's a rich life to live where you're not just in harmony with everyone around you, but in harmony with yourself. Yeah. In harmony with who you are, in harmony, knowing that you are one of a kind and unique in that way, right? Just that harmony, that peace that comes. And I just pictured you as you were saying, you'll be able to open doors for people. You're kinder to people, and that's what that true joy exemplifies. That's what you do. You're out of your head. Yeah. You're out of your own way. You're living fully and being present and being in the moment. That's why it's important. But as you said it's in our fiber. It's ingrained in us to contribute, to give back, to serve other people, to be that servant leader. Yeah.
And let me share real quick one other story, real brief. I at the beginning of my personal development journey, again, I was a wild card, wildcat. I was all over the place, but I had a sincere desire to be a better version of myself, and I was going to Toastmasters. And thankfully, I was in a really great Toastmasters, which is speaking and leadership development, and I was in a great club in Southern California. And one of my mentors, who I hired as a coach and was guiding me, he was actually going through cancer and was doing his best to heal through that. But it was a really, really progressed and aggressive stage. And about I think a year or two after I had met this guy, Lee Adams in Southern California, And he'd built successful companies, had money to be able to, basically fix all of his health issues. And there was still stuff that he had to like work on internally, and choices that he had made growing up that had caused consequences. But, he lost the battle to cancer. He transitioned, whatever the, terminology is that we want to use. But it really sunk into me like how kind and how generous he was in these like last days, last weeks, last months of his life. Mm-hmm. And he was coaching, and he was serving, and he was going to Toastmasters, and he was doing these things. And I was like, mind blown that like this is what you're choosing to invest the last moments of your life into. Like there must be something here to giving back, to serving, to being a contribution, to living that purpose. And so that really stuck with me as well as something that was a profound experience and a reminder of like what's most important in this life.
That is heartwarming. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. You talk about the regret people have at the end of their life, and he didn't have any.
No.
You used this time wisely to give back, to serve back, because that's how you leave a legacy, right? Because his mentoring and coaching is you.
Yes.
Is the outcome of that. And then that trickle, that domino effect to other men that you're coaching in your program and that you've been serving over the past decade. And it just kind of, now everyone's going to know him, through you.
Yep.
It's powerful. And that's the beauty of finding your purpose. Yeah. That's the beauty of serving other people. That's the beauty of using your God-given talents and gifts, because they're unique to you. You're going to find that the niche that you are to serve is yours. There's people who are going to relate to that. And the point that you said about the pain is just unbearable, that you don't want to go back there. And I gather, Chris, the pain is from the programming that we've had that's been instilled at a very young age, right? Because we're programmed from the ages of, 2 to 5 years old. It's set.
Yeah.
Who we're going to be, personality type, the things that were said to us, we conclude that and put that to our value, our worth, who we're going to be. And then that directs our decision, our adulthood, because of what happened those primal years that we're not even aware of. So tell us about that pain and that programming that is sometimes so crippling.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to note that whatever someone is going through right now, whatever experience, whatever adversity, whatever block that you feel like you've just been going at like day after day, week, month, years, and you've been facing this thing and it seems to be so big and so daunting and so insurmountable. I just really want you to know that like there's so many people around you, number one, who are going through the same thing. So you're not alone. Right? Remember that you're not alone. And the second thing I would also remind people of is that there's most likely someone who has been in basically your same exact situation, your exact same shoes. You're pretty much living the life that you're living, and they have also overcome that. They have also persevered. They have also found a solution. They've also figured it out. And so I really invite everyone to be resourceful in finding that leader, that expert, that coach, that mentor who has the answer. Someone has the answer. It's oftentimes people ask the question of, what do I need to do? What do I need to know? How do I do this? And I think often a better question is, who has the answer? Who has the answers that I'm seeking? When I was growing up, I played a lot of video games, as I mentioned, and I was going through this painful period of trying to figure out who I was. And I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who to turn to. My parents, they did the best that they could. And I freaking love them for it, Lunid. Yeah. They did such an amazing job. So much love. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And there were just things that they didn't know. They didn't know how to teach me emotional intelligence. They didn't teach me how to handle my rage and my anger in a healthy, productive way that I didn't feel ashamed about. They didn't know how to talk about sex very well with me. They didn't know how to talk about money super well with me. These kind of like taboo topics that were kind of challenging. And so that was very frustrating for me. It felt very isolating, like nobody understands me, nobody gets me. And I think that's one of the biggest pains that people can experience. And it actually leads to depression, medications, addictions, things like that. And even my fiance has dealt with suicide. She lost her uncle to suicide. She attempted suicide, and she's the most brilliant light I know today.
Yeah.
And still, we have these journeys that we get to go through, we get to grow through. So I just really want everyone to know that you're not alone. And there's people out there who have been through similar things to you. And so I didn't have mentors. I didn't have coaches until I was about like 21. I may have had a neighbor, bless my neighbor, Harley, he was a great like second father figure. And my dad was amazing. He taught me a lot of stuff, a lot of tools, but I just didn't get the whole picture on how to be a man when I was growing up. And that was very frustrating, and it was very confusing. And it was very like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to, make lots of money and be attractive and be muscular? Is that what it means to be a man? Is it, success, financial success? What is it? What is the answer? And so for me, that I would say that was the existential pain that I experienced, Lunid. And I really got through it by consistently asking for help, by opening up, by being vulnerable, by being real, and just sharing like what I was frustrated about. And so I think a lot of men try to stuff things down, and that's one of the biggest things, and be a lone wolf. And those are some of the biggest things that keep them stuck from achieving their greatness. And I think we all do it from time to time, but the most successful people, I believe, are the ones who say, I need help. Show me how to get through this, right? They ask for help and they open up. That was some of the pain that I was going through.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the EQ, emotional intelligence. Like for men, it's taboo to talk about your emotions. It's taboo to show it. And so I can see how it would be challenging for men to even raise that hand and says, hey, I need help. I do not know how to process this. I do not know how to deal with this or to even express it myself or talk about it. So how have you, because now you work with a ton of men and empowering them and actually helping them break through these barriers. How have you helped in particularly with the that taboo, breaking that taboo specifically?
Yeah, well, I firmly believe that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And it's not my job to make people ready. Right. So I think that's a big thing, is like some people just aren't going to raise their hand, and they're not meant to right now. Right. They're not meant to for another 5, 10, 20 years, or even in this lifetime. And that's something that I think can be difficult to come to terms with for people who have solutions, personal development experts, coaches, leaders. Is not everyone wants that transformation, wants the growth, has a growth mindset. And that's another really great point, is growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Right. Right. Carol S. Dweck, amazing book. And so if someone is in that fixed mindset of, I'd rather look good, I'd rather, try to make things perfect instead of like failing forward. I'd rather be comfortable and not go outside of my comfort zone because that's what's safe. Those people are not ready for coaching in a lot of ways, right? It takes someone who's saying, I'm willing to try this on. I'm willing to mess up. I'm willing to fail. I'm willing to go forward. And so for me, those are the guys who I really thrive with, is the guys who say, I'm willing to mess up. I'm willing to get kind of uncomfortable talking about my emotions. I'm willing to like just not be the star of the show, right? And take off that bravado that like we have to have it all together all the time. That's like one of the most there's so much pressure in that. Yeah. And so I give men the permission to take that weight, take the world off your shoulders, because you're not meant to carry the weight of the world. Like really get right with yourself, reconnect with, for me, it was reconnecting with the inner child, being able to express the inner child's feelings and the things that I had been repressing and stuffing down. I just did one this week where I was yelling. I was expressing rage with my coach to get that teenager angst outside of my body, right? It was stuck in my body, and it was causing me to self-sabotage in different ways and not show up how I do on my A game, right? And I was like, what's going on? What's at the source of this? And so I checked in and I was like, man, there's some stuff that I just haven't dealt with that maybe in the last couple weeks or couple months, it's just been building up. And so it's so important to have these routines, to have these habits, to have these rhythms where we check in with ourselves and say, what can we do to get our power back, or to grow our power, to grow our self-confidence? And that's the second pillar, is really activating that power within, and the self-confidence, eliminating self-doubt, the psychology of the self-image, and being confident in ourselves. So I think that's a big thing, raising your hand, the willingness to raise a hand, and the willingness to mess up, the willingness to fail. And for all the perfectionists out there, I really want to share this. Because I think a lot of people say today, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And I love the intention there, but I don't think that's actually true. And I'm going to maybe be a little bit polarizing in this and say, you're not actually a perfectionist. What you are is you're focusing on not doing anything wrong. And so because you're focused on, I don't want to do this wrong. I don't want to do this wrong. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. I hope I don't mess up. I hope they don't reject me. I hope yada, 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 right? I hope I don't mistype something, misspell something, whatever, right? It doesn't matter what it is. If you're focusing on that, you're focusing on things being wrong because the brain, as you know, Lunid, doesn't hear the not, right? I do not want to mess up. The brain doesn't hear do not. It hears I do mess up. I do want to mess up, right? That's what it hears. And so it's like you're focusing on the pink elephant, right? If you say pink elephant, what does your mind focus on? The pink elephant. And so I think that's a big part to really focus on where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. And so perfectionists out there, my invitation for you is to recognize that actually everything is perfect. Right? It's perfectly imperfect. It's perfect that, we're on this conversation right now. It's perfect that you stubbed your toe. It's perfect that you didn't get the best workout in because it's just an opportunity for refinement and doing better in the future.
Yeah, well put. I love that. I really, really love that explanation because you really don't think about the perfectionist. I used to call myself a perfectionist.
Yep.
And it really, the deep rooted cause was don't judge me. Don't you dare criticize me because I am busting my hiney here trying to make this right. And when I do get criticized, it throws me off. I'm angry. I feel rejected. And my worth was attached to that outcome. Yeah. And that's the biggest mistake that we can make is that attaching our value to our results versus the in the moment of like, it's okay to fail. But if you fail, you learn, you're failing forward. You're learning to do it better next time.
Yep.
To grow. It's like breaking down muscles. You're in the gym, so you can fail your muscles to rebuild them. So it was perfectly said, Chris, and I didn't look at it that way, that I was just afraid of not doing things wrong. So that is a really, really great clarity. So how do we go about eradicating these limiting beliefs to level up?
I should be asking you this question. You know this.
But you are the expert today. Let's go, Chris.
Well, we both got our beautiful life experience, right? And I think that's important. So, I think that there's different levels of limiting beliefs and things that can come in and sabotage us. So a really great exercise my mentor and coach, Jeremy Eugene Wilson, gave me was to list out the worst case scenario of whatever is the topic that I'm focusing on. And if you feel like there's a lot of pressure or you may have been self-sabotaging yourself or myself, that I've done. And when that happens, it's like, okay, well, what's at the root of this? And I believe it's not really giving voice to the things that are going on in our head, right? The thoughts, the worries, the doubts, the limiting beliefs. And so for me, it's like really playing that out. What is the worst case scenario? What are all the worst case scenarios that I can think of? And data dump, brain dump that stuff. You said it earlier about like being still and being silent. And the ability to go within and to inventory and to data dump, brain dump, get stuff out on a journal and just be with that, right? Just let it land and not need to do anything, not need to fix anything. You don't need to change yourself, but just first of all, just get it out of your head, right? Because that's one of the worst places for things to stay stuck, turning over and over and over, right? So that's number one. And then the second thing is now you can start using your logic to say, what can I do to prepare for this worst case scenario? Now that you know that, hey, this is actually a worst case scenario, it's a worst case scenario that the business could not succeed. It's a worst case scenario that quote unquote, the money could run out. It's a worst case scenario that our lover or significant other could leave us for whatever reason, right? These are all worst case scenarios. So what would you do in that situation? And how do you prepare for that? You don't want to focus on it. You don't want to obsess about it. But you want to ease your mind. You want to give your logical mind that reassurance that, hey, like no matter what happens, I'll be able to get through it. No matter what travesties, what rock bottoms I go through, man, I will remember that I can handle it. I am enough to handle it. So I think that's a really great exercise to come to that realization that no matter what happens, like I'll be able to survive. I'll be able to get through it. And so that's a powerful one is the worst case scenario. How would you prepare for it? And the other thing that I think we need is figuring out what is the best case scenario too. Because oftentimes in terms of limiting beliefs, I find that a lot of people focus on just uprooting their limiting beliefs endlessly, almost like human beings are this eternal project and it's something to keep fixing. We got to keep fixing ourselves. We got to keep doing more personal development. We got to keep investing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars into our personal development and growth. And trust me, I am all for personal development. But if there's a fundamental view that we are broken, we are flawed, and we need fixing, then no matter what we do, it will never change anything.
Ooh.
And that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. So it's really getting clear on those limiting beliefs that, hey, I know that they're there. I've acknowledged the worst case scenario, yada, 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 all the programs that are running through my head. But then we get to start really focusing on, what do I choose? What do I desire? What life am I creating? And every day moving towards. And so write out those best case scenarios. Write out what would happen if it succeeds. What would happen if I soar, if I fly, if I thrive, if I get rich, if I get the most amazing relationship of my life? What would that be like?
Right.
And then how do I prepare to handle that level of success? Because it's just as important to ease the logical mind of, what will I do when I have everything that I want? Mm-hmm. Ooh. Have you ever given yourself permission to have everything you've ever wanted and wished for? Man, another great book on that is the Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. If you haven't read that, read that book. It's all about up-leveling and getting past that glass ceiling. So those would be a couple things I'd recommend, Looney.
Oh, that's awesome. Well put. I try to live my life that way. And when I know when I'm having a great day, it's like when the Red Sea parted. The Red Sea parts for me, where everything that I think is manifesting, it's happening. Oof. It's like, oh, there's no traffic. Everything just kind of clears up. Or the beauty of manifesting, and you talk about manifesto, is that you can create your reality. Your thoughts become your things. Mm-hmm. And so we wake up every day with the intention to create the day we want, to design the perfect day that we want. And it does happen. The same way we wake up, and if we don't check our thoughts, our negative beliefs at the door, that will create the day for us. That's what's so disruptive about programming, is that it will take over. You become a robot and on autopilot, where you're not being creative. We operate out of the subconscious mind 95% of the time. Whew. During the day. All right. Only 5% of that we are creative. We are deciding, making some type of decision. But the 95%, we're on autopilot. We're just kind of going through the motion. We put our pants on with the same leg first. We dry it first, the arm first, the right arm first. Yep. We brush our teeth. We start with the left side. I mean, we are on autopilot. The brain is designed that way. The brain loves that. Yep. And so we have to make sure that what's coming out of the subconscious mind is of good content. And when you say uproot these negative beliefs, Chris, you don't just uproot it and leave a void there. You have to replace it. Yes. That's with any bad habit. Negative beliefs have to be replaced. That's why we talk about, you as a coach, me as a coach, talk about affirmations and declaration, and saying anything that you put after the word I am, you become that. Oof.
I'm just going to breathe that in. Reminder. Thank you. Oof. Man.
Powerful stuff, right? So let's talk about habits. Let's talk about some of the habits that you help your men put in place. You've put it in place for yourself so you can thrive and so they can thrive as well.
Yeah. And this is such a beautiful topic because it can be super complex and it can also be super simple, right? So I think it's ultimately whatever we make it. And, I would say a great foundation that I started with was Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning. And so he has the Savers routine. I won't go into that, but ultimately it's like, find out what are the areas you're not giving nurturing to, you're not feeding, you're not nourishing. What are the areas of your life that you're not doing the basics, right? What are the basics that you're not giving attention to? For some people, they are addicted to reading books and they don't work out. Right. That is out of integrity. If you're not giving your body love, like that's out of integrity. And maybe for some people, they're constantly working out, pushing themselves, reading books. They're super intellectual and in their body, but they're not connected with their spirituality. So
Yeah.
what's your spiritual practice, right? How do you connect with yourself, your higher self, and whatever that means? Everyone has a different definition. Maybe it's praying, maybe it's reading the Bible, whatever, or some other religious text or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key, is where is your area of growth? Because my morning routine is not going to be your morning routine. I have a different set of circumstances, life situation, right? And we might have some similarities, but ultimately I would say, what are the areas of life that need nourishing? Maybe your relationship isn't working, and the best morning routine that you could dedicate, if you only have 5 minutes, right? You only have 5 minutes in the morning, and you got so much to do. Your schedule is jam-packed. You got kids, all this stuff, right? What are you going to do with those 5 minutes to work on the thing that is most bringing your energy, your aliveness, your fulfillment down? What are you going to do? Are you going to write love notes to your significant other? Are you going to order flowers to be delivered at work or at home or whatever it might be? Are you going to think of gratitude and all the reasons why you appreciate them and all the things the reasons why they're amazing, right? So what are those things that you're going to dedicate that time to? So I would really identify with what are the weak points. But for me, personally, Lunid, if you want my morning routine, right now it is getting up out of bed, being grateful, pausing, being grateful, saying like 3 things that I'm grateful for. Then I come into my office, I sit down, and I have been meditating. So meditating for 15 minutes, and it can be for whatever amount of time people want. And so I think that's really important. If it's 3 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think that's a really important thing, is to slow down the autopilot that's going on in our head, so that we regain control of directing our focus and our attention. Because where attention goes, energy flows. Energy grows, right? So it's like we really get to manage our attention. That's literally our most precious resource that we have, is our focus, our attention, and our presence. And if we are mismanaging that, then we're going to end up at the end of the day feeling like we got nothing done. But if we take those breaks to pause and reflect on where's my attention going, that's a game changer. So for me, it's meditation first, then I'll read for about 15 minutes, typically about 10 pages a day. And so that's another part of my morning routine. Then Petya and I, my fiance, will do green juice. So celery juice, we do celery juice every day, 32 ounces. We do 32 ounces of lemon water. And then we do a heavy metal detox smoothie. So that's like every single day. And that's for us, that's a super important balance. And then we'll go to the gym after that. So that's my morning routine. But again, there's all kinds of different stuff. I've done affirmations, I've done journaling, I've done visualization, I've done reading, I've done praying, like all these different things. So it's ultimately where I feel the most valuable investment of my time and energy right now is those about 4 core areas: is the meditating, is the reading, is the getting my nutrition right, and then getting some physical fitness in so I can get back into action and have a great work day.
Boom. Powerful. We're having too much fun. That is powerful. Yeah, you hit it right out of the park. Waking up with gratitude. That is essential. Yes. I'm going to ask you about your non-negotiable, but what time do you get up?
Ooh, okay. So it really depends on the day. And I naturally wake up because I don't set an alarm. So I naturally wake up. Typically the sun is starting to come through in our room around 5 a.m. Right. So that's like plus or minus 30 minutes. It really just depends on when I go to sleep, what my quality of sleep was like. But I typically go to bed around 9. I do my best to start reducing the screen time around 8:30 or so. But Petsy and I, we love to watch movies right before bed. It's her favorite way to unwind. And so we typically do that. And so it's really whatever works best for people. But for me, it's 5 a.m.
Nice. Yeah. I'm up at 4. I'm considered one of the lions. That's the early risers anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. The quiet morning, it has something to tell you. It whispers.
Yeah.
Dr. Dwayne Dyer said.
Yeah. When I'm having an off day, Lunid, the day I say, okay, my day just feels out of alignment, I'm going to go to bed at 8 today and get up as early as possible, right? And I just feel so much more productive, and I reset the rhythm of how things have been going because I'm spacious, I'm quiet, I'm at peace, I'm serene. So I definitely recommend people do that as well. If you've been feeling caught up and overwhelmed, just do your best to get to bed as early as possible, and then wake up early so you have a really spacious morning.
Yeah, I do love it because I'm up so early. By 6 o'clock, I don't know my own name. I'm because I'm ready to recharge.
Yeah.
I'm ready to just do something for fun because I push hard in the morning. Between 4 and 8 a.m. I'm going hard. And so, but after that, it's like, I know my energy is going to stop dropping. So you capitalize.
Oh yeah.
That's why it's important to know that. I love that you mentioned it's unique. Mm-hmm. It's unique to you, to your body type, to what you have going on in your life. I don't have any kids right now. So yes, I can be up that early and work so many hours, but it changes depending with milestones within your life. But you got to know what your body type is. You got to know what works for you. And the only way to do that is through curiosity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's through that exploration. You got to explore what works. We've given you the blueprint, but you got to put it into action and actually test it out to see what works and what sticks for you. So I know for me, my non-negotiable is I can have 5 minutes. If I had 5 minutes to get myself primed and ready and peak state for the day, it would be my 5-minute meditation. I do a love and kindness meditation where I say to myself, what do I say? May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be at peace. And then I revert that to a loving individual, family, or my husband. And then I do it for a third time for the rest of the world. May everyone, every creature be happy, be healthy, and be at peace. And that's my 5 minutes. That only takes 5 minutes. And that's non-negotiable for me. If I can do that, I'll be okay. What's yours?
Man. So for me, it's, I feel a big thing that, especially if we're stressed or have a lot going on and we're jam-packed for time, which I feel like you access with the meditation. For me, it's breathing. It's being conscious about my breathing. It's being conscious about breathing in gratitude, breathing in light. I literally visualize myself breathing in light, receiving light. And so if I have 5 minutes, I'm going to spend that time, invest that time, really dedicate that time, devote that time to breathing in love into my body, breathing in that gratitude, breathing in that light, and just getting present in my body. So I'm not caught up in the thoughts and my schedule for the day, but I'm just totally grounded and present.
That is how you get up, dress up, and show up.
Yup.
Oh, that's awesome. Chris, how do we connect with you? Where can we find you?
So awesome. So thank you. By the way, this has been such a blast, and you're an amazing host. And I know you know so much about the brain and psychology and habit formation. We've just scratched the surface. So especially for the men who are tuning in, you just want a tribe. You want a tribe of guys who get you. We do Monday night Zoom calls every week where it's just a Zoom hangout call, masterminding, sharing big wins, challenges, things like that. That's in our Facebook group, the Men Mastermind. So you just go to facebook.com/groups/Men Mastermind. You can find me on my Facebook profile, personal profile. I post on there a lot, facebook.com/TH3 Burns. And I'm sure this stuff will be in the show notes.
It will be.
And stuff like that. And then Instagram would be the last place is @IamMillionaireChris. And you can find me on there, and come check out the podcast too, Mastering Man Within. And, I'm super grateful to be building a movement and a community for guys to be seen, to be heard, to be validated, and really step into the mastered man within them.
Fantastic. And so wherever you're listening to this podcast, you will find his podcast. Yes. You'll find Chris's podcast as well. This has been such a delight just having you on the show. I mean, we covered so much. It's just the surface of habits and habit building and the neurology behind it all. And we didn't even get into manifestation and visualization. We didn't, Chris, we would need 2 hours to dive into this stuff, but everyone knows how to connect with you if they want more. Chris, is, you mentioned the brain dump, just getting it out of your head and being able to process it. And that's phenomenal, because we don't take the act of journaling or writing. It's a form of meditation.
Yeah.
We don't look at it that way. And that was very, very insightful. And you're discovering yourself is finding out what your values are and staying curious, because you got to be intentional about learning. And I love the piece about not being a perfectionist, because you're just avoiding making mistakes. You're just avoiding making mistakes. And that was me. I raised my hand for that. Yep. And I love how you use the willingness. You talk about the men who are willing to raise their hand and says, I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to be mentored. I'm ready to be coached. And that's the kind of individuals you're looking for. So if that's you, the information will be down below for sure to connect with Chris. And it's been phenomenal conversation. Thank you again for coming by today.
Lunid, thank you. And for everyone who's tuning in, remember to breathe.
Perfect. 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 Remember to breathe. We forget.
Yes,
we forget.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that and for being honest, and being candid, and for being you. Again, I'm honored to have had you on the show today.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,